What happens when one of Hollywood's most controlled stars enters the most unfiltered domain that is daytime TV? And the interview goes ice cold in under a minute. Before we delve into this awkward encounter, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and turn on the notification bell for your daily dose of talk show deep dives. The cameras roll in the vibrant studio of The View. The energy is electric. The hosts are all sharing jokes, and the audience is ready for a typical A-lister sit-down interview. Joy Behar is mid-sentence in animated debate of current events, while Whoopi Goldberg leans back relaxed as the cameras shift. "All right, coming up next," Whoopi announces as she turns toward the camera, "is an actress who can conquer it all from nail-biting action to tear-jerking drama. Please welcome the incredibly talented Emily Blunt." The audience goes wild as Emily makes her way onto the stage with understated British glamour, waving to the applause of a standing ovation. Graceful, she glides down the line of hosts, greeting each of them with a hug, as she goes before taking a seat beside Whoopi. But the ultimate question is, how long can the polite greetings keep a looming storm hidden from view? "It's lovely to be here," Emily says in a warm, relaxed tone as she cross-legs and leans back in the chair. Joy immediately jumps in with a smile as sharp as a knife's edge. "We are delighted to have you here. But goodness, you have been a very busy lady. It feels like every time I turn on my TV, there you are." Emily laughs at the quip. "Well, that can either be a very good or a very bad thing." And the room giggles as Whoopi adds, "Oh, trust me, that's good." For the next couple of minutes, it feels like the predictable interview, the grueling schedules, the hard work required in her current project, and the universally felt battle between her global career and personal life. Everything is going smoothly. That is, until the room takes a 180 in direction, so abruptly you wonder if a line was skipped. Sunny Hostin makes the shift into the acting process as she states how Emily's choice of roles always appears so intentional, as if the actress is trying to send a message with the character. "I don't want to show up," the 40-year-old replies humbly. "I want the work to mean something even in subtle ways." At that precise moment, the air goes out of the room. Joy leans in, eyes locked with Emily's. "Well, I have heard that some actors think that they are making a much deeper point with their work than they really are." A faint murmuring fills the room as if hearing a collective sharp inhalation. Emily forces her eyes to retain a warm glint, but the light has dimmed significantly as she replies with a cool, measured tone. "That's fair. However, I also believe audiences are far more intelligent than we give them credit for." The tension is palpable, but Joy refuses to step back. Or, on the flip side, Joy shrugs. Audiences are much more interested in entertainment than a lecture. An almost deafening silence hangs over the View set as Whoopi casts a sidelong glance toward her co-hosts. "Joy, we're a bit early in the segment to make that statement," she says, half humorously, half seriously, as she tries to pull the ship of talk back into calmer waters. The damage, however, is irrevocably done. Calm. Emily Blunt has just met unfiltered Joy Behar, and the interview is now officially off the rails. Do you think Joy was being too truthful or just plain mean? Let us know whose side you are on in the comments section down below. The room's suddenly so tense you could cut it with a steak knife. And Joy Behar is not letting up, her voice dipping into that oh-so-familiar, casual yet dangerously pointed timbre. "I'm just saying," Joy continues, "there's a lot of actor celebrities now stepping off the screen, and all of a sudden, they are very involved with every single topic." A ripple of nervous energy rushes through the audience. Half laughs, half gasps. But you can see Emily Blunt shift. She's not leaning forward anymore. She is sitting up, hands laced together in her lap. "I don't think anyone is trying to be an expert," Emily says. Her voice is like clear glass, utterly cool. "But when you have a public platform, people do ask your opinion. It's the same as if you don't say anything. That's a statement too." The audience is leaning forward. Now Joy is ready for a haymaker. Joy raises her eyebrows skeptically. "Or maybe it's best to just stay in your lane," she counters. The room literally gasps. This is the biggest Hollywood diss. Sunny Hostin attempts a bridge. "I think what Emily is saying is..." But Emily holds up a hand. She doesn't need defending. She directly addresses Joy, their eyes locking. "It's fine," Emily says. "I get that you think that, but it implies that I, as an actress, can't engage with the world beyond my script. That I can't be more than one thing. A round of quiet applause, but the air is still buzzing. Is this an interview or an intervention? Whoopi throws out a lifeline, a friendly reminder that The View is all about opinions. Emily nods politely toward Whoopi, but the pleasant part of this interview has evaporated completely. Alyssa Farah Griffin tries to bring it back to the themes of responsibility and influence in the movie. But Joy's not done. She cuts back in, laser-focused. Let me ask you this directly, Joy presses. Do you feel that actors have a responsibility to speak out about social and political issues? The question hangs in the air, loaded. Emily doesn't flinch. She takes a small, careful breath before answering. I think everybody has a responsibility. Everyone. It is not just up to the actors. The audience erupts into a round of enthusiastic applause, but Joy folds her arms across her chest. That's the safest answer, she mutters. And that? Well, that's the end of the show. For the first time, Emily's eyes flicker slightly. The polished star's demeanor begins to fray. That's not a safe answer, she says, her voice dropping a pitch. That's an honest answer. Whoopi can sense the heat. Okay, we are going there early today, she exclaims with a nervous laugh, trying to control the room. But Joy presses on, her voice sharp. Because sometimes, I feel as though that honesty is manufactured. It's designed for people to be receptive to it. The room has gone absolutely silent. Emily's smile has vanished. She stares straight at Joy, her gaze unwavering, and the silence stretches out until it's deafening. For you to assume that, Emily says slowly, her words measured. You'd have to believe that people are incapable of being sincere. Whoopi's eyes go wide. Sunny looks down at the table. The set of The View has just transformed into an intellectual battlefield. Joy's not backing down. Or, she says, I believe that people are very good at performing sincerity. Emily exhales slowly. The warmth is gone. The charm has faded. All that's left is a woman standing her ground. She stares Joy right in the face and delivers the perfect mic drop. Well, she says, then I guess we're all performing right now, aren't we? The bomb has landed. How do you come back from that on live TV? The crowd explodes with support and disbelief in a messy tangle of both. It's no longer an interview, it's a full-on shouting match. Whoopi Goldberg, always ready to take the wheel, slams her hand down and bellows, All right, hold on just a second here. Her voice cuts through the cacophony like a gavel. We're having a conversation, not a trial here. A nervous ripple of laughter goes through the crowd, but the air is thick enough to choke on. Emily sinks back into her chair, her features transforming from genial and sweet to laser-focused and deadly serious. I did not come here to argue, she states, her voice steady but quivering with intensity. However, I will not sit here and have my intentions questioned like that. Joy opens her mouth to retort and the entire segment nearly implodes. For a millisecond, it seems like everything has gone completely haywire. The silence stretches on. On live television, 3 seconds is forever. The crowd is left in a strange state of suspended animation until Whoopi breaks the spell. Okay, let's keep it respectful, please. We're all just having a discussion here. I am being respectful, Emily states in response, her eyes locked on Joy. I just think that you shouldn't assume what my intentions are until you actually know them. Joy lets out a short, amused breath that's more scoff than anything. I'm not questioning you as a person, she says, though the tone of her voice suggests otherwise. I'm questioning the trend. But is questioning the trend a cover for something more? Sunny Hostin interjects. I think that's where we're having the disconnect, she explains. When you say trend, it sounds like you're lumping everybody together. Emily nods vehemently and adds, Exactly. And then it's not fair. Joy shrugs. But isn't that exactly what happens? People, politicians, us sometimes. It all gets lumped together. Alyssa Farah Griffin gives a tiny agreeing nod. It does, but I think there is a difference between discussing the trend and making it seem personal to the person saying it. The crowd murmurs in agreement, but Emily is about to take it back to where it counts. Emily shifts, placing both hands flat on the table in a power move. When you say, stay in your lane, It really does sound like you're making it personal, she states flatly. It sounds like I don't have the right to step outside what you have decided my lane is. Joy tilts her head and replies coolly. Or it sounds like expertise matters. A fragmented cheer erupts from a split crowd. Emily doesn't even blink. Her gaze is intense. Expertise absolutely matters, she agrees. But giving an opinion doesn't mean you are claiming expertise. It means you are participating. Whoopi gives a slow nod. That is a fair point, Joy continues, her eyes fixed on Emily. But participation has an influence. And that's what's being questioned here. Emily delivers the line that turns the tables. Silence has an influence too, she fires back, her voice firm and strong. This time the cheering is deafening, and the entire audience leans forward. Joy raises an eyebrow and asks, So, now actors have a duty to speak? Emily immediately shakes her head. No, I'm not saying that at all. Joy leans in further. It sure sounds like it. The interview is at a breaking point. Can anyone find a way back from here, or has the door slammed shut for good? Things really reach the point of no return now. Sunny throws out a life preserver, her voice edged with urgency. I think what Emily is trying to say is that there's nuance to this. Emily isn't having it, though. She shakes her head slightly, never breaking eye contact with Joy. I'll say it clearly, she states. No one is forced to say anything, but no one should feel discouraged either. The word discouraged hung heavy in the air, a suffocating cloud over the table. Joy leaned back in her chair, arms crossed, in her trademark defensive posture. Discouraged or challenged? Emily was having none of it. There is a difference. This is a debate, is becoming an interrogation, though. Joy let out a sharp, humorless chuckle. You are a master at this, she states flatly. And there is nothing positive in her tone. Emily's eyes narrowed slightly, her expression tightening. At what? At answering so that it sounds good. The audience let out a collective gasp, a sound that is only ever reserved for when someone really crosses a line. Whoopi shot a look to Joy, ready to cut in, but Emily was too fast for her. I'm not trying to sound good, Emily stated, her voice as controlled as ever, but the steel in it was now a palpable force. I'm trying to be clear. Which can be the same thing sometimes, Joy shrugs nonchalantly. The energy shifted. The cheers of the earlier segment were completely gone, replaced by a heavy, wary silence. Sunny exchanged concerned glances with both women. I think we're going a bit in circles, she offers. I think we were talking about general issues, but it feels personal, Emily finishes, Sunny nodding. Yes. Now, Emily leaned forward, her pose mirroring Joy's aggression. The polite facade was off. It feels personal because it's being framed as such, Emily states. Joy denies this, shaking her head. No, it's being challenged. There's a difference. But you are not challenging my ideas, Emily returns with the power of a judge's gavel. You are challenging my sincerity. The entire room hummed. This hit home far more than anything said all morning. Joy attempted to speak but stopped, then doubled down. Because sincerity is very difficult to ascertain when there is a public image at play. This was it. Emily Blunt had clearly decided she was done with the game. Whoopi tried to raise a hand to call for a break, but Emily had already spoken, not louder, but simply more direct. Do you think I'm not being sincere right now? Everything in the room seemed to pause. The background chatter, the shuffle of feet, all silenced. There was a complete void of sound. Joy took a beat, studied Emily for a long moment, then spoke. I think you are very aware of how you are presenting yourself. A ripple went through the audience, murmurs of agreement and discomfort. Emily simply nodded, taking the insult in stride, then delivered her final line with practiced elegance. Of course I am, she states simply. I am on live television. A soft titter went through the audience, and Emily leans forward, finishing her sentence. That doesn't make me insincere. It means I'm being thoughtful. Sunny enthusiastically agreed that this was a good distinction, but as the camera cuts away, it is clear that this may be a bridge that cannot be rebuilt. What did you think? Was Emily being thoughtful? Or was Joy right about the performance? Let us know in the comments below. The room is a knot of skepticism. Joy Behar clearly isn't buying it, and certainly isn't treading carefully. Emily tilts her head, her tone falling to a steady level. Is it a bad thing to be careful? She asks. Joy shrugs, a small sigh escaping her lips. Depends on what you're being careful about. And that's when it hits. The defensiveness drains from Emily's face, replaced by a cool, unyielding resolve. She chooses her words with a surgical precision. I think, Emily says slowly, sometimes people jump to assume the worst of public figures because it's easier than accepting they might actually say exactly what they mean. The audience is already on their feet. This isn't a ripple, but a tidal wave of unified support. But Joy isn't quite finished. As the cheers start to die down, Joy leans back in, ready to plant one last jab. And I think public figures sometimes rely on that assumption to avoid getting asked any tougher questions. Silence. The room goes rigid with a palpable tension. Whoopi Goldberg leans forward, her voice imbued with all the authority of a seasoned judge. Okay, we are not going to sit here and accuse one another of operating in bad faith. It's not a question, it's a command. And the air in the studio finally seems to take its first deep breath. Emily offers a quick nod toward Whoopi. That's fair, she says before settling back in her chair. Is the storm finally passing? Alyssa Farrah Griffin is certainly hoping so. Alyssa quickly tries to reel the segment back in, addressing Emily directly. So, back to your work, she says. Your character in this film is actually about identity and perception. Emily manages a thin, grateful smile. It is, she confirms, but before she can elaborate, Joy's voice pipes up once again. Just one final thing, though. The audience groans, a few nervous chuckles escaping them. Whoopi closes her eyes briefly, as if to say a quick prayer for patience. Joy, Whoopi warns gently, but Joy holds up a hand. No, just one question. The room holds its breath. This is the defining moment of the entire interview. Joy leans in, her voice now quiet but twice as heavy. Do you ever worry, she asks, that no matter how well-intentioned, speaking out can do more harm than good? Emily doesn't answer right away. She looks down, a rare moment of public introspection, before locking eyes with Joy again. When she finally speaks, her voice is soft, but it carries the weight of absolute conviction. I worry more, Emily says, about what happens when people don't speak out for fear of being misunderstood. There are no cheers, no applause. The audience just listens. For the first time, a subtle flicker of something unreadable crosses Joy's face. It's not approval, not entirely, but it is a shift, a subtle yielding. Whoopi nods, a slow, deliberate gesture. That is a real answer, she says. Sunny adds, It is. The silence that follows is different than the fractured quiet before it. It's contemplative, tinged with an emotion that has altered, but hasn't vanished. Whoopi places her hands flat on the table, a subtle anchor in the storm. All right, she says, her voice steady and calm. That is something people at home are likely thinking about. Joy shifts in her chair, her shoulders finally relaxing, but her eyes still trained on Emily. It is a thoughtful answer, Joy admits, the sharpness gone from her voice. I'll give you that. The segment ends, but the conversation has only just begun. In a world of performance, who do you think was the most genuine? Let us know what you think in the comment section below. And don't forget to like and share if you want to see more deep dives like this. Emily gives a small nod. I appreciate that. But the silence afterward isn't one of resolution. It's one of regrouping for the next round. Sunny Hostin takes a breath and jumps in with diplomacy. I think what's interesting here is that you both are speaking to responsibility, just on different ends of the spectrum, she says. Emily, you're talking about the responsibility to speak out. Joy, you're talking about the responsibility to impact. Joy looks at Sunny. Right. And those two things don't necessarily cancel each other out, Sunny continues. They could coexist. Emily nods again. I can get behind that. Joy pauses, then offers a hesitant nod as well. In theory, a ripple of polite laughter flows through the audience, but it's tentative. Is the peace treaty actually going to stick? Alyssa leans in. And I think for viewers at home, what resonates here is that this isn't just about celebrities. This is about regular people making these decisions. Do I speak out at work? Online? To my family? Emily turns to her. Exactly. And this is a much larger conversation. Joy immediately holds up a finger. But the average person doesn't have a Twitter feed with millions of followers. Emily fires back. But the edges have softened from earlier to a firm conviction. They don't. And the principle can still apply. Can it? Joy asks. Influence certainly changes the stakes. Now the audience is almost evenly divided. Some are cheering, some are stone-faced and silent. Does power actually change the game? Whoopi watches the entire exchange with an impassive face. Emily hesitates for a beat, pondering the point. I cannot say that influence doesn't change the stakes, she says. I won't argue that. But influence doesn't change the idea that the general public should be entitled to share a thought or idea without being automatically judged. Joy taps her fingers on the table. Tap, 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 tap. The sound of her rhythm bounces off of the studio microphones. I don't think that there's judgment necessarily, she says. It's more about inquiry, and inquiry isn't inherently a bad thing. No, it isn't, Emily agrees. But there's a difference between questioning a statement that's being made and questioning why that statement is being made. Joy's lips press together. Motivation matters. Emily meets her gaze, her stare firm as ever. It does. And when you're questioning someone's motivation without sufficient evidence, it feels unfair. Whoopi steps in as the table's ultimate referee. Okay, this is becoming a philosophical discussion now, Whoopi says, offering a half smile. And we have to keep the show moving. The audience laughs and exhales. The energy doesn't disappear with the laughter, though. It lingers, humming just below the surface. Sunny leans forward and decides to take a risk. Can I ask one question? She says. She looks at both Emily and Joy, and Whoopi gives her the nod. Sunny turns her attention to Emily, her question hanging in the air like a bomb. Have there ever been a time when you spoke out and you later regretted it? The room falls completely silent. Everyone is waiting for Emily's answer. Is it a confession, or will she stand her ground? Stick around for the epic conclusion. Emily doesn't answer immediately. Her shoulders rise with a breath, and for the first time since the cameras turned on, her features soften. Of course, she says. Anyone that honest would say so. I can see the crowd nodding. It's a rare moment of sincerity that resonates throughout the entire studio. Sunny immediately shifts her attention to Joy. And for you, Joy, has there ever been a point in your career that you felt somebody with a platform should have spoken up? Joy pauses. I can see her thinking about that. And then I see it in her eyes. Yes, she says, her voice a whisper after a long pause. There have been times. Everything at the table suddenly changes. Emily sees it first. She leans in and says, Then we are not that far apart. Joy looks at her and considers it. Maybe not, she replies. For one beat, it seems like the war is over. But in live TV, it rarely is. In fact, I believe it's just a ceasefire. But, Joy states, I believe there's still a certain level of awareness that comes from being in your position that's sometimes lacking in many. The audience responds, some agreeing and some with hesitation. Emily's eyes focus and her posture stiffens. I would have to agree with that. Awareness is certainly key. Joy nods but is not finished. Yes, and sometimes it feels like, she stops, choosing her words carefully. Like awareness is traded for certainty. Emily tilts her head. Certainty doesn't necessarily equal something negative. No, Joy rebuts, over-certainty certainly can. The air around the room hangs heavy. Is she talking about Emily the character or Emily the person? Emily leans in and calmly says, Do you think I am over-certain of myself? The question is not aggressive, it's asked without much more than a hint of curiosity in her voice. Joy hesitates for a moment, but that is long enough for me to notice. I think you are very certain in your opinions. Emily nods once. Yes, I am. There is no regret in her tone, no softer language, just fact. Some members of the audience applaud, some whisper in the back. Emily continues. But certainty in yourself doesn't mean an unwillingness to listen. I have been listening to everything you've said. Joy nods at Emily. You have. And I understand your concerns, Emily adds. I just don't feel that it means you have to write people off before they've even had a chance to make themselves known. Joy sighs in relief and leans back, the pressure finally beginning to ease. I don't feel that I am writing you off. But Emily is determined. That's what it felt like. That response packs a much stronger punch than any pre-rehearsed statement could. No accusatory tone or biting sarcasm, just pure, honest truth. The audience remains silent, rapt with attention. Sunny nods in agreement. That's important to admit how something felt. Joy glances between Sunny and Emily, and for the first time all day, I see a smile begin to form around her eyes. That wasn't my intent. Emily nods in return. I believe you. The intensity in the room finally dies down. Alyssa breaks the tension by saying, "This is actually becoming a productive conversation now." The audience laughs, and a wave of genuine applause erupts through the studio. Whoopi exhales loudly and says, "Took us a while." The intensity is gone, but I have a feeling this is not over yet. Joy Behar has something more to say, and what she says next could alter celebrity interviews as we know them forever. Don't go anywhere. Joy leans forward again, the harsh angles finally smoothed away. I just think at the end of the day, people with influence, they know what they signed up for. And they're going to be questioned, she said. And the questioning isn't always kind. Emily doesn't flinch. And I agree with that, Joy continued. And that questioning doesn't mean hostility? Emily seems to think about that for a minute. She nods. That's fair. Balance. It was finally reached, fragile, but there. But before she gets to leave the room, Emily delivers one more quiet sentence. So long as that questioning goes both ways, Emily said. Joy's eyes immediately narrow. What do you mean? Emily meets her glare steadily. I mean, at times the people asking the questions, they are not used to being asked questions back. The audience erupted in ohs and claps. It wasn't just a turn, it was a whole-scale reversal of the conversation. Whoopi sat up straighter as the force of the statement registered. All right, she said, though her statement was unnecessary, the words already out. Joy didn't smile. Well, that is just the nature of this show. You get questioned all the time, she stated. And it is fair, Emily returned. But it should still be balanced. A silence fell again. This was far more than a celebrity interview, a complex conversation about power and responsibility. The energy in the room was electric. It felt raw and real, and Whoopi recognized it as it began to build. All right, she said, a soft nod accompanying her words. I think we've reached a point where everyone has been very clear. A couple of soft laughs rippled through the crowd. Joy leaned back and lost her rigid military stance. She sighed and looked at the audience. Then her eyes returned to Emily, her expression softer. Look, she said, a significant reduction in the intensity of her tone. I don't disagree with everything that you're saying. That confession alone shifted the entire room. Emily gave a little nod, her body relaxing from its tension. And I don't disagree with you either. Sunny Hostin was practically glowing as she said, There we go. A comfortable round of applause started to build from the audience. Joy continued, I think where I push back is the notion that the people with influence do not have that recognized. Emily nodded. And I think where I push back is on the notion that we can use the people who have influence as a justification to always disbelieve what someone is going to say until they speak, she said. Joy gave a slow nod. That is fair. The moment that passed was one where the tension had finally converted to respect. Whoopi looked from one to the other, like the conductor of this whole chaotic symphony. And this is supposed to be the table, she said. Disparate opinions, a shared conversation. Alyssa added, Honestly, I feel like this has been the most real discussion that we have had all season long. The audience burst into cheers. Emily let out a quiet sigh, releasing the tension she'd held in her shoulders all day. I honestly did not see this happening, she admitted. Joy smiled, a real smile. Neither did I. The room broke into a room of laughter, closing out a segment that started as a confrontation and ended as an incredible lesson on standing one's ground. So what do you think? Did Emily ultimately win the argument, or did Joy make a valuable point about the influence wielded by celebrities? Let us know in the comments below. And be sure to tune in for more. Sunny leans forward and lightens the mood but keeps the gravity of the moment intact. This is precisely why people tune in, honestly, Sunny says, smiling gently. It's not just about the latest headlines. It's about those moments. Whoopi nods. Real conversations. Emily looks around the table, regaining her poise. I appreciate the opportunity to have it, she says, the slightest hint of humor in her voice. Even if it was, shall we say, a little intense? Joy lets out a low laugh, the frost of the previous minutes melting away. A little. The studio audience lets out a collective gasp, followed by waves of laughter, the peak of the storm now seemingly behind them. "That's our show," Whoopi exclaims with a knowing smile to the camera, as if to assure us this is what we tune in for. "We're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we'll have a much lighter conversation with Emily Blunt about her new film." Music swells, the scene fades, and the studio audience erupts in applause. When the show returns, the energy of the room is palpably different. They shift seamlessly into light-hearted stories and anecdotes, including an amusing story about Emily's family that delights the studio audience. The transformation, however, isn't merely in topic. The subtle shift in the dynamics of the show is undeniable. Joy asks her questions with a more nuanced tone, and Emily's responses, though still guarded, are a touch more open and introspective. The tension of the interview hasn't been dispelled entirely, but it has evolved into a nuanced form of respect. The storm had subsided for the cameras, but the real event was already happening. As the segment draws to a close, the studio audience stands to applaud Emily their ovation, louder and more heartfelt than before she entered. She hugs each host. Upon reaching Joy, there is a split second of hesitation before they share a quick, genuine hug, a fleeting moment of connection that the audience recognizes, igniting another wave of cheers from the studio. Off-air, the exchange quickly becomes a viral sensation on the internet. Within minutes, clips flood social media, and the question Emily posed, "Do you think I'm being insincere right now?" becomes the focal point of a heated debate. Across X and YouTube, opinions are divided. Emily's fans lauded her composure as ice-cold under pressure, a masterclass in maintaining one's ground without succumbing to pressure. Joy's fans, however, defended her interrogative approach as essential, emphasizing that public figures should not be immune to questioning. Body language experts and media personalities chime in to analyze every blink, gesture, and word choice. So, what was the mood off camera after the lights went down? Sources backstage confirmed that there was no screaming match or lingering anger. Instead, a brief period of quiet conversation ensued, acknowledging the intensity of the segment and the breakthrough in the interview. Emily reportedly thanked each host individually, even exchanging a personal word with a few of them, before departing. It wasn't a dramatic feud, but a quiet and profound realization that history had been made on live television. Joy maintained her stance on challenging guests while acknowledging the weight of the questions brought to the surface during the interview. Ultimately, what lingers in the minds of the audience is not merely the conflict, but the composure that navigated it. A conversation that started out breezy, evolved into a tense exchange, and returned to a more comfortable place without collapsing. Now it's our turn. Was Emily Blunt's defiance justified? Or was Joy Behar merely doing her job? Let us know what you think in the comments below, and be sure to subscribe to the channel for more in-depth dives into the unvarnished moments of talk show history.